is it reasonable that you would be good at this skill that you're looking at, learning a new language, if you only spent 20 hours for the month getting good or practicing? Is that reasonable? Welcome to the Path to Passive podcast, where we talk about building wealth and empowering lifestyle through commercial real estate investing for tech professionals. I always wish that other tech professionals reaching financial freedom had documented their journey along the way, so I'm doing it for the rest of us. Join us as we explore stories, many failures, and lessons learned along the way. I hope you enjoy and subscribe. Welcome to the episode of Path to Passive. My name is Steven Rita, and I am your host for today. I'm an AWS solutions architect and a real estate investor. And if you're here and listening, you are interested in getting the maximum leverage with your capital to earn income, save on taxes, and build generational wealth. So what are we talking about today? Today, I'm going to tell you about the 4 stages of competence. We've got unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and unconscious competence. Boy, is that a mouthful. But let me walk through how I got to really thinking about this today. And I'll break down each of these. So, I'll take a little bit more time to walk through each of these things. And I want to tell you how you can use these different phases, these understandings to keep your energy high through whatever it is that you're learning and you want to get good at. In this case, I hope it's something like investing or personal finance. And so it's not enough to believe in just consistency, right? It's about understanding the learning process and knowing what phases there are to mastery. I'm told all the time, you probably hear it too, if you're a lot like me, reading different things, listening to other podcasts, you hear about resiliency and consistency and all this kind of stuff. But what I don't hear a lot about are these learning phases, which is why it's something that it has made an impact on me. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I got to learning about these phases, but really why this has been my mind today. And hopefully it's something that you can take away as well and know where you are in these phases so that, again, you can keep your energy high on your way to mastery in whatever it is that you're doing. So why this topic today? What actually sparked this for me is a couple things that brought up. And there are things I'm facing within the last week or so. And like I said, they all sort of pointed to the same direction of being consistent, but also that there is somewhat of a time lag for the results to start showing up, right? And what I mean by that is you can be doing the right thing, focusing on the right stuff, but it's going to take time for things to almost start to compound before you get those results, right? It's kind of like going to the gym as an example. You'll go to the gym, you'll learn the different movements and you'll start doing those. You'll get your nutrition right. Hopefully you're getting enough sleep too, because that's going to help to accelerate things in your body. And you have to keep on doing and doing and doing. It doesn't literally happen overnight. It takes a lot of small decisions and decisions after day after day after day to get there, to be consistent, to start getting results. But we overlaid those with these 4 stages as well. You could really start to understand how we go from an unconscious incompetence to an unconscious competence, or said a little bit more easy and layman, so to speak, layperson, is to go from being unaware that you're not good at something to unconsciously having it in your body like a reflex, like it's in your nervous system. And so that's what I'm talking about here. So like I said, what actually sparked this topic for me is a couple of things that brought up this same message. I got a bunch of projects tied up and it feels good to get those all completed, but I was also looking at the next set of projects I need to get done. Some of the things here is like, just getting started with a new team to connect a new CRM or email management system, going from MailChimp to ActiveCampaign, and looking how, I want to restructure my business and the different investments, what courses I'd like to make for you, on personal finance or passive investing. And so I'm talking with podcast coaches, other coaches that I have to hear about, what I'm up to, and they're saying, hey, it looks like you're going in the right direction and you're working on the right things, but we need to do, a lot more of that. We really need to crank up the quantity and we need to get more leverage on those as well. This, of course, brings up new problems and higher quality problems too. But again, there is a time lag. It is being consistent, and it's knowing where I am on each of the different strategies that I'm working on. By the way, if you're interested in these types of courses, please shoot me a mail. It could be There's a feature of sending a text message if you're there looking on Spotify or, somewhere else. You can go to, I think it's right there in the show notes. You can send a message, or of course you can, connect with me on LinkedIn or on Instagram, or you can shoot me an email at steven@aritacapital.com, also in the show notes. Anyway, the point I'm making is that it can take time for the results to show up, but it's all about being consistent and knowing where you are. So how does it relate to today's topics? Well, I know that whenever I'm doing something new, I know that it's going to take time to do something, more time to do something that I haven't done versus something that I've done many times over. That's just the way things are, right? And, this makes me think of the quote that things must be difficult before they can become easy. And that really matches both sides of the spectrum, where you start from learning that unconscious incompetence to the unconscious competence aspect. So going from, one side of really not knowing to the side of knowing it well to the point where you can do it autonomously. And so, this is the process I picked up from, neuro-linguistic programming when I took some of those classes, just psychology in general. And what I'm reinforcing here is that knowing just where I am in that process of learning really helps me to keep track of that journey, right? Knowing what the path ahead of me is. Like, have I done enough where I think it's reasonable for me to be at a further part in the journey, or to really get some calibration of if I'm much further down, then, is it something that maybe I haven't practiced in a while where I didn't know it as good as I thought I did, as an example? Like, am I on track? How do I know where I should be and where am I right now? And so this gives you an understanding, right, from the spectrum of where are you, where should you be next, etc., and gives you some sort of mile markers, so to speak, on that particular skill. So let's dive into this. We've got the 4 stages of competence, and I've sort of alluded to this already, but I just want to give a brief overview of these so that you can hear it and you can take it away and really start to get it in your own mind. So in this case, we can think about investing, right? And it really doesn't matter if it's investing or if it's learning a new language, playing an instrument, or anything else like making a new favorite cup of coffee or whatever. At this point, we have these 4 stages. Again, just an overview. We have unconscious incompetence, right? This is where most people are unaware of their lack of knowledge or the skill. You're just unaware that you're not good at that thing, right? And so you have to become aware that I'm not good. It's like, okay, I had no idea that this is something that I wasn't good at because I really never tried, right? And so in the next phase, we have conscious incompetence, right? This is that stage where people become aware of their limitations, right? This is where you finally are seeing, okay, maybe I had some natural ability from something else that I was doing, but I really have to focus now on I'm about to having to start to focus on, getting good at this thing. But where I am right now is that I know, and I'm very aware that I'm not good. So the next phase is conscious competence, right? Here, learners are actively working on developing those skills. So whatever the skills are in that particular area, right? It's, learning to tie your shoes for the first time like you did, like really focused on, doing the loop around that, doing the knot, pulling on both sides. It could be, it could be learning to drive, standard for the first time, if anyone does remember that, or maybe just driving in general, right? Having to pay attention of what are you doing with your left hand or your right hand, are you deliberately turning on the blinker, and hopefully you're using the blinker even today, and things like that, right? So being very deliberate with what it is that you're learning and walking through things step by step. And maybe it's just like doing a lab, right? That's another example that just came to mind. Maybe you're doing a lab and you're learning some kind of new tech or whatever, and you're going through those steps one at a time because you have to break down those skills or break down each of the different strategies of whatever you're doing, implementing new monitoring or networking, whatever, right? Just as you're going through a lab, you get the point. And then the fourth stage is that unconscious competence, just like I said. And this is the ideal state of mastery where the skills become second nature. And you hear this one a lot, skills becoming second nature. This is where, you've practiced so much at this point that it's in your nervous system. It's a reaction, right? It's that, I could do that with my eyes closed. That's like the Shangri-La. This is where we want to be so that we can keep doing a lot of things and multitask, because each of the different tasks that we've done before are hopefully places that we have that level of proficiency where we can manage multiple complex things because we've gone through these cycles so many times. And no surprise here, no shock of, obviously there's a way that we do things, get more familiar with it, etc. But get an idea of, where you are in these stages helps to answer and combat these questions of, well, I feel like I should be further along, right? Or, man, I've spent so much time, maybe some variation of I think I should be further along, or maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was, or something like that, based on the specific results that you're trying to achieve. And so you can ask follow-up questions from that, right? So for an example, let's talk about that concept that many of us overachievers have, that it's I thought I would be further along, right? And so this is kind of a good one here, because the question that I like to ask myself is, isn't it reasonable that I should be further along? And why is that? Where is the evidence that I have, that I should be further along, right? And so maybe there's a certain skill, we'll call it something other than investing in this case. There's a certain skill that, you dedicate a couple hours a week over, but that's only a couple hours per week, right? Over 3 months or 1 month. I mean, if you spend 5 hours a week, that's 5, 10, 15, 20. Is it reasonable that you would be good at this skill that you're looking at, learning a new language, if you only spent 20 hours for the month getting good or practicing? Is that reasonable, right? Versus, is it reasonable that, would you still be asking, I thought I would be further along if you spent 20 hours a week on language for that week? Then all of a sudden you go from, 5, 10, 15, 20 hours for the month versus 20, 40, 60, 80. So, that many more hours. And now you can start to think about, okay, how have I progressed through these phases as well, these phases of learning, and how reasonable is it for how complex that skill is too, for the amount of time and effort and focus and consistency that you put to that skill. So I'm just trying to provide a framework here of knowing not only where you are, but is it reasonable on how proficient you are at a skill based on the complexity of that thing is, right? It's just an idea to think about as you're doing things, whatever it is. Start thinking about, well, is that, you could also use it from a perspective, is it useful for me to go and learn that skill, right? Whatever skill that you're looking at, because that might be a conscious competence, at 50% of that at 60 or 70 hours. And if you quantify it that way, that you can sort of guesstimate how much time it would take to do that, right? Instead of just thinking, man, that thing looks complex, it would probably take a lot of time to get good, you can probably now think, yeah, that's probably about a 70-hour skill, right? That's probably about an 80-hour or 100-hour skill. And what does that skill get you? If that skill gets you enjoyment, and you like golfing or dodgeball or pickleball or whatever kind of ball it is, fine, whatever, right? That's something that you can, you'll be consistent on and be more willing to go through these phases because you're gamifying it. But in these other cases, you can think about how much time will I have to take to progress through these stages, and what is the return on investment for that if it's not something that you're doing just for enjoyment, as an example. Now, hopefully, the things you're working on have an intersection of enjoyment plus something coming back, like investing. Hopefully, you enjoy investing, but the point is the same. Anyway, I know I went a little bit deep here, but I thought some of my thoughts around this and how I see things might be helpful. So I just wanted to mention that. So let's take this to a different angle here, which is, what do you really do, when the going gets hard? I like to think about other people that have also gone through some really difficult things and model their thoughts, right? What were they saying to themselves? What were some of the hardships that they went through? What are the resources that they drew upon that helped them to get through whatever it is that they were getting through at that time to help them achieve things? And maybe it's you can think of a time similar when you did some volunteering with people and you saw people that were less fortunate, or maybe you had met some people that were physically had a handicap or something like that by some means, as unfortunate that may be, but something where you had a lot of empathy, and you had a lot of, you thought, wow, I have no excuses. Those people had a much more difficult life than me, type of thing. And so, those are the type of things where, it's like, I shouldn't be whining. There's absolutely no reason for me to be whining on any level. I just have to focus and look at, what the end result here is and how it's going to impact the other people around me, period. And so I just wanted to share a couple things right now. One of the stories here is, I've referenced it, is, obviously I'm at AWS, Amazon Web Services, all these opinions are my own, et cetera, but, one of the stories that I've, stumbled across and was Jack Ma's, the founder of Alibaba. And, he's saying that success is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. It's a matter of consistent hard work. It is a matter of talent and will, a matter of pushing yourself to your very best, right? So we're talking about emphasizing consistent hard work as a key element for success, and aligning with the importance of consistency highlighted with, these 4 stages of going through these competence. And so, another big one, of course, Michael Jordan. I missed more than 9,000 shots in his career, almost 300 games, 26 times, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, really, these are people that have gone through these different phases, right? And it's not just, well, yeah, they were consistent. Of course they were. But the levels of becoming proficient, the things that people like those I've just mentioned get these things that they have because of that level of consistency that they have too, right? Certainly some lag time, no doubt. But again, just focusing on that, what do you need to do to look at where you're at, to reframe that, to think, not only the things like how complex that skill is, but how much time it would take and where you are, but really looking at other people that can inspire you to model to get through whatever that phase that might be hard is. Because there are times where it's going to be difficult. There are times where, you might be really tired, and it doesn't mean you're going to quit. You can rest, but, it's going to be, okay, I got to get my bags, and I'm going to keep scaling this hill, so to speak. All right, so bringing it all back, just keeping this short and sweet on investing, it is a skill. Investing is a skill, just like anything else. It's a muscle. Look at wherever you are in that cycle. Is it still focusing on putting together a good criteria? Is it, looking at how to analyze a certain deal? Is it understanding how to evaluate, a market, or how you, talk to certain sponsors to ask them, like, what are their, background? What makes them unique? What, I wouldn't ask them that particular, but, how would you go about vetting a sponsor as an example, like someone putting together the deal? And so each of these are strategies on their own, but they're necessary for the bigger picture, right? And these things are, needed to learn these frameworks and strategies. And something that might be interesting, in the future is maybe an approximate amount of time it might take to get good at each of these skills. Yeah, I'll consider putting that together, but something just like that, maybe it's what it's going to be for you. How much time do you would you quantify for, or you think it will take for you to learn certain aspects of these, and then focus in and think about, where are you for a given strategy through that learning cycle. And so anyway, like I said, I just want to keep it short and sweet. And yeah, I'm sure there are things I missed in this. And so if there are certain topics that you think are, you want to talk more about, shoot me a message. Again, LinkedIn, Instagram, shoot me a mail. It's in the show notes, steven@aritacapital.com. And so, yeah, if this helped you, please leave a quick review on Spotify or Apple, or if you're here on YouTube, drop a comment, please subscribe, would appreciate that. If you have topics that you want to hear more about too, please let me know. You can reach me the same ways, and I would love to create an episode for you, and I'll make sure to let you know, mail it to you, call you out, whatever it is, but I want to be able to serve you as a listener. So appreciate you, have a great one, and I'll see you in the next episode of The Path to Passive. Bye. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Path to Passive. We love connecting with our listeners and those on the path to architecting their wealth and improving their lives. Feel free to let us know what topics you'd like to see in future episodes. Get in touch with us through email or Instagram. See you next week for a new episode.